There has never been a level of fear throughout our species as significant and intense as there is now. Today, the fear is everywhere, and people are wondering, what can I do? Our evolution itself requires of us something unimaginable, something beyond comprehension. We must love all those who are brutal, who are confined to the five senses in order to evolve. When will this happen? When will it happen in you? What are you pursuing? What are you choosing? Are you choosing love, or are you choosing fear? Our evolution now requires us to choose love. Eventually, you will come to understand that love heals everything, and love is all there is. And then beyond understanding that, you will become that. That is the big surprise. It's good to be with you again. It's good to be with you again, especially this time, this recording, this podcast, because over the last 6 podcasts, and I recommend, if you're interested, to go back to the first one, which is called We're All in It Together, and see how we got to where we are now. And here's where we are now. We are a new species. We are evolving by creating a new kind of power. Alignment of the personality with the soul, and the intentions of the soul are harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life. And right now, in the United States, a new president and a new administration has been elected. But this podcast is not only about the United States, it is about a much larger dynamic, a species-wide, unprecedented, epic dynamic. The contrast between the old consciousness and the new consciousness. It's not a contest. The old consciousness is already dead. It has no future. But it's continuing to influence through inertia, through momentum. Imagine yourself in the late 1890s, and you're on a railroad train. That was the equivalent of supersonic air travel in those days. It was unheard of. You could ride in comfort, sitting on a cushioned bench, watching the countryside move past you, or you moving past it faster than a horse can gallop. And all of this is made possible by a locomotive, powered by steam, powered by vaporized water, in a boiler fueled by coal. And the engineer in the front of the train is shoveling that coal into a boiler. It's vaporizing water, and that steam is pushing those huge pistons that are moving those gigantic wheels. And this brutish, unstoppable thing is going forward, mile after mile, across an entire country. It's a symbol of progress. Now, suppose that the locomotive starts to slow, and you're a passenger on the train, and you can feel the deceleration, and you talk to your fellow travelers and say, well, what's going on? Why isn't this working the way it should be? Something very big is happening, but what is it? And then finally, the locomotive just chugs to a stop, and it's not going to move anymore. And everyone gets out of the train. What happened? We ran out of fuel, says someone. Well, let's get some more, says someone else. But there is no more. That's what's happened to the old consciousness. It's run out of fuel. And the fuel was external power, manipulation, and control. And everything that surrounds us was built by the old consciousness, on, for, and by external power. All of our social structures are built by the old consciousness. They emerged out of human experience, and until now, Human experience has been limited to the old consciousness. So nothing's working. Nothing. And that can be sensed. We are the fellow travelers, 5-sensory and multisensory alike. We know something big is happening. There's a big change. 5-sensory humans don't have an idea of what it is. Well, they do have an idea, but it's not an accurate perception. They think we'll recreate the past. We'll make things better, and even better than they were in the past. And no one's going to stop us because we have the external power and we're willing to use it. Get out of the way if you don't want to hop on this train. That's what we're experiencing in our world now. That's the experience of half of the human population. Well, what about the other half? It's very different for them. They're aware that they're more than bodies. They're aware that they're more than earth suits in an earth school. They're aware that they are souls, that they have an immortal component, that they existed before they were born, their souls, and that their souls will exist after their bodies and their minds die. It's a big difference in perception. This is the big difference. And they are striving to create harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life. What about the people that the old consciousness has elected? I'm talking not only about the new president in the United States, the new administration in the United States, and new is a relative term, but around the world. This divide has been growing in Europe. It's been growing in the human species, and now it's at its zenith. It's stark. It can't be ignored. On the one side of the divide is a new consciousness emerging in billions of humans, whose goal is harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life. And on the other side of the divide are humans who are still 5-sensory, and those who are most emblematic of it value and are promoting discord, competition, hoarding, and exploitation. How stark could the divide be? One wants harmony, the other side wants discord. It profits by it. One side wants cooperation, co-creation. The other side competes and is determined to win no matter what. One side, the multisensory consciousness, shares. There's a deep satisfaction in sharing. The other side, the old consciousness, hoards, takes all that it can, siphons it into itself, and produces individuals of great wealth and others of no wealth, no material wealth. On the one side, the side of multisensory perception, there is a striving for reverence, for life. What is reverence? Reverence is seeing beyond the shell of appearance to the interiorness, to the beingness of a person or thing, to its real essence. There's different ways to define reverence. Reverence is simply the understanding that everything in and of itself is of value. It's realizing that everything, without exception, is sacred, however you define sacred. And on the other side is exploitation. More for me, more wealth for me, more power for me, same thing, external power. And it's destructive. And its destruction now cannot be ignored. We see it in rock quarries. We see it in clear cuts where a florist used to grow. We see it dramatically in terms of pictures of Hiroshima and Nagasaki after atomic bombs reduced all of them and everyone in them to ashes. This is our contrast. What are we going to do about it? If you have the old consciousness, you're going to double down. You're going to say, I'm the boss. We're the boss. We, our country, it's the boss. We've been taken advantage of. Other countries are taking advantage of us. In other words, they're portraying our country, its country, as a victim, and others as a villain. On the multisensory side of this great divide, there is no such thing. Only frightened parts of personalities are victims, and only frightened parts of personalities make villains of others. And those are the parts of our personalities as multisensory humans that we can recognize and cultivate the loving parts and challenge the frightened parts, which means consciously move beyond their control. So, on the 5-sensory side of this great divide, as I mentioned, the way forward is clear. It's the past. Recreate the past and make it bigger, make it better, make it invincible. Show others who's the boss. Create an empire that will be remembered throughout all time. That's been tried within the lifetime of people as old as I. I was a toddler the last time it was tried. The empire was to be called the Third Reich. The Third Reich was created by the Nazis. That means it was an empire that would last a millennium, 1,000 years. It lasted 12 years. And behind it lay a world in ruins. Now, external power is the same. It seeks more. It seeks a bigger empire, bigger than the Roman Empire, bigger than the Babylonians, bigger than the British Empire, bigger than the Third Reich wanted to be. There is no end to the need for external power, for more recognition, for more of whatever it is an individual does not have. And the pit is endless because when the individual gets that, it does not bring satisfaction. It brings only more violence and destruction. Now, on the multisensory side of this great divide, there is also the question, what shall we do? There has never been a level of fear throughout our species as significant and intense as there is now, except perhaps only when the coronavirus began to move into the human experience. Even in days of the bubonic plague, when fear in Europe was grand, it did not extend to the entire world, and there was not the communication system that could spread that fear. Today, the fear is everywhere, and people are wondering, what can I do? They know that if they do not do something, they will implode under the fear of the collective. And it's heavy, and it's everywhere. So when these people, multisensory people, say, what should I do? They don't have the option of saying, let's go to the past. Let's beat them at their own game. Let's get more money, another political party, more votes. Let's wipe them out. Well, that's the pursuit of external power. That's what's created the destruction in the world now. And that the collapse of external power has produced the collapse of the world in which we're living. So that's not an option, is it? How can we fight external power? By trying to defeat it with more external power. That doesn't change the world. It can change an administration, but it does nothing to the world. It only adds more to it of what it's already made of. Well, how about the high ground? We'll condemn them. We'll shame them. We'll show them this is the wrong way. will show them that their way has no future. That's still external power. We're trying to manipulate them with reason, with logic, with ethics, with morality, with religion. All of those are also outdated pursuits of external power. Well, what can we do? We've got to change the world. Well, we can't even change the world with the new consciousness because we're not different from the world. That uncrossable barrier between in here and out there does not exist in the new consciousness. It is a part of the old consciousness. From the old consciousness, it's ridiculous to even think that changing yourself on the inside can change the world on the outside because the two are forever separate. From the new consciousness, it's evident that there's no other way to change the world than to change yourself. Sounds preposterous to the old consciousness, but is it? I can tell you some of my heroes, and they're all people who knew this. Mahatma Gandhi. Have you heard of him? He was an Indian, a lawyer who was educated in London, a privileged Indian, experienced the height of brutal separation in South Africa under apartheid, and learned there things that he would take with him to India, and with those things which he called satyagraha, the active power of love, far more than nonviolence, an active force of love that required courage. He was beaten several times in his life. He was imprisoned in his life. And this man who decided to give up Western clothing and simply wear a loincloth, that he spun cotton to weave the cloth itself. He was responsible for removing the British from India. The British were the most powerful colonial power on earth. 1/4 of the world's landmass was in the British Empire. And so the British used to arrogantly say, the sun never sets on the British Empire. But it did. Today the British Empire is no more. And the one man who brought it down was spindly. He never owned anything. He was never elected to an office. But he appealed to love, truth, discipline, and he brought down the entire British government, but not by force. This is the amazing part. I've seen newsreels of British troop ships leaving the docks in India, and the troops are cheering Indians on the dock who are cheering the departing troops. It ended in love. Amazing. Amazing. If you've never seen the movie Gandhi, I think directed by Richard Attenborough, do so. It will shake you. In fact, Gandhi said so many things that are memorable, and one of them is, if you choose, you can gently shake the world. So that's one person who knew that what the old consciousness is trying to do cannot be fought by the old consciousness. Who's another one? Martin Luther King Jr., another one of my heroes. I saw a videoed interview of Martin when he was in a jail cell in the Deep South, and the white reporter was doing his best to elicit from Martin a criticism of white people. But Martin didn't give him one. I don't think he had one. Martin Luther King Jr., who put himself in front of vicious dogs, fire hoses, blasting people with a bone-breaking force and smashing them against walls. And he was also the one who shook this country, and I think the world, with his famous declaration, not a declaration, a sharing. He said, I have a dream when people will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He knew what multisensory humans know. So maybe it's not so ludicrous to think that you've got to change yourself to change the world. Oh, there's another one of my heroes. I don't want to forget this one. Jesus of Nazareth. Well, everyone in the West knows that story, and probably most people in the world except Aboriginal tribes in the outback, and even those have been contaminated by Western thought. But this is one person, not of wealth, not of power, not of fame, not like Siddhartha, who became the Buddha but was a prince before. No. You don't know too much about him, but the young man was a carpenter. That's about it. And he gathered around him people to share a teaching that he wanted to share. And he said in his own way, this isn't mine, I'm telling you what my fathers taught me. And that was his way of saying, there's a divinity. And when he died, it was brutal. Oh, so brutal. But he never said, get even with them, show them they're wrong, rub their faces in it. No, he said. What did he say? I think most of you know that. He said, forgive them. Now that was a long time ago by Earth School standards, about 2,000 years. And we still know his name. Why is that? Because he lived in these realms that we are now, or a part of him lived in these realms that we are beginning to experience. And by that I mean realms beyond the Earth School, non-physical reality, in which there are new experiences, new processes. And as we encounter them, our values change. Our goals change, our ways of getting there change. So now we come to the biggest of all surprises. Our evolution itself, the spiritual dynamics of it, require of us something unimaginable, something unspeakable, something beyond comprehension. We must love all those who are brutal, who are confined to the five senses, and who are not and are still brutal, in order to grow, in order to evolve. We don't have a choice. Well, of course, all of my podcasts and all of our books, Linda's and mine, have been about choice, about you as choice, not as having choice, but as choice. You cannot not choose. And the choice is always the same in the Earth School. Always. Love or fear. My heroes, the three that I've mentioned, chose love. And we remember them. We know them. They didn't frighten us. They inspired us. They didn't make us bow down. They showed us what it's like to bloom in the Earth School. And now we have no choice but to do that. If we try to fight the American president and his administration, if we try to fight the far conservative people in France, in Germany, in other parts of the world, if we try to combat them with the external power that they are using to oppress others and to put themselves in positions of power, We're trying to fight external power with external power. And no matter who wins, what have we got left? The pursuit of external power, and it now produces only violence and destruction. It leads nowhere. Yet what we can do is powerful in a new way. When we recognize the necessity of emotional awareness, the central role of the heart in our new evolution, when we begin to experience aspects of non-physical reality that before this shift in consciousness were considered imagination or fantasy. For example, you are the universe. How can I say something so absurd as that? Because it's not absurd, only from a limited perspective. Linda and I were adopted into Lakota culture. That's a Native American Aboriginal tribe. And that wisdom says the center of the universe is everywhere. It took me a long time of thinking about that before I began to sense the depth of that wisdom. As humans, we've had this wisdom, but we don't generally follow it. Christians know that this wisdom is expressed to them as love. Love, the essence of the universe, the essence of life, the essence of consciousness. It is life. It is consciousness. And they know that that love is not affection. It is love that moves you easily, quickly, definitively. Well, not without temptation, but it moves you toward a love so strong that you would give your life for another. But most Christians don't live that way. They judge others, loudly or silently. They propose love, but they don't practice it all that much. Buddhists understand that their experiences are part of a dynamic of impermanence. They strive to see their original face, as they call it, unmarked by thought, unmarked by prejudice, unmarked by perception. Their original face. It is amazing. Yet most Buddhists know that, but they don't practice it. They're not guided by it. I've been in many Buddhist temples where Buddhists are elbowing one another at the foot of a statue of the Buddha to plant their stick of incense in the sand. What would the world be like if every Buddhist knew that he or she alone is responsible for everything that he or she does? Well, they think they know that. They propose it, but they don't practice it. What would the world be like if every Christian loved you enough to die for you? Well, that's what we're talking about. That's the big surprise, the unimaginable, from the perspective of the five senses, the inevitable, from the perspective of the new consciousness. When will this happen? When will it happen in you? That's the more relevant question. Don't look outside yourself. You'll see different administrations, different governments, all pursuing external power. What are you pursuing? What are you choosing? Are you choosing love, or are you choosing fear? Now, there's no right or wrong. This is another unimaginable surprise. You cannot make a wrong choice. You can choose to create consequences that are more destructive and painful than others, or you can choose to walk a road that's more gentle and easy to travel. But you can't make a mistake. There is learning in every choice you make. So you can strive to defeat a new president with his own medicine, and you'll create only destructive consequences for yourself. Yet there's learning in that. There's always learning in every consequence. Or you can use every experience, including these, to choose love, to choose to respond with love, instead of react with fear. And in doing that, create consequences for yourself that are beautiful, blissful, wholesome, healing, creative, fulfilling. This is where we stand now. This is where we will always stand. This is where we always have stood. But five-sensory humans have no concept or experience of it. Multisensory humans now do. And our evolution now requires us to choose love, not as a New Age mantra, not as a nice thing to put on a card, but as the grounded, nitty, gritty, coming to terms and awareness in yourself of the parts of your personality that long to kill, that long to torture, that long to dominate, and would if you let them loose, like some of these individuals have let them loose or have never had an idea of confining them. And it also means coming to the nitty-gritty reality, the smooth, luscious, never-ending reality of the love that you are as well. The love that excludes nothing and no one. This doesn't mean that you don't prevent policies and activities that are destructive, just as Gandhi did not accept the policies of the British. You will fight them with everything that you can, but you will not close your heart to your fellow souls, to your brothers and sisters in the Earth School. You will not say, you are not human. You are not as sensitive as I. You are not as full of potential as I. No. If you do that, you become as they. Welcome to the Earth School. It's not I that's welcoming you. It's our own evolution waking within us. That is another way of saying we are becoming aware of our evolution, which is yet another way of saying our evolution has become conscious in us. And we contribute to it with each choice to respond in love or to react in fear. Even when frightened parts of our personality are repulsed at the idea, let them be repulsed. Experience them. They are part of your growth. They are part of you. They are part of this universe, this compassionate universe. Eventually, you will come to understand that love heals everything, and love is all there is. And then beyond understanding that, you will become that. That is the big surprise. If you're enjoying anything you're hearing on this podcast, subscribe to it. Now, what do I mean by enjoy? Do I mean, is it entertaining for you? Does it make you laugh? Does it make you forget your worries? That's not what I mean. I mean, do you resonate with anything that I say as relevant, profound, and pertinent for you, not for the world, for you? Something that you can use, something that you can experiment with in your life. If you do, if you resonate, then subscribe, because there's more where this comes from. It comes from the universe, as do you. You have some big thoughts now, and some big insights, and some big experiences, much bigger than you can put in your notebook, your soul notebook with its little pencil. But you can write some words that point in the direction of the big insights, the big thoughts that have come to you. Write them down. Do it now. And then return to that notebook again and again and see where examining it and your own process leads you. That's your soul step for this week. I'm Gary Zukav.